premier tuba ensemble in the world. And we're very excited to have them here. And their music director, who is not only a dear friend, but the pioneer of tuba ensemble playing in the world, Mr. Winston Martin.
You can't go wrong with the music of Bach, can you? I hope. A lot of fun for us to play that piece, a real challenge to make it work with you. So we're going to do an original piece for you now. The previous two pieces were obviously transcriptions arranged. There was a student of ours that graduated a couple of years ago named Kenyon Wilson. Kenyon continued his graduate work at Baylor University. He got his master's in performance last year, and he did such a good job there. They liked him so much, they offered him a secular assistantship in the area of theory composition because he's a very talented individual. This piece, the Tuba Quartet No. 1 in C minor, Opus 3, is one of his original compositions that he composed for the Harvey Phillips Tuba Euphonium Quartet competition that was held last spring. If I remember correctly, this piece came in third, which was quite good out of a field of about 30 or so pieces that were admitted by a number of fairly well-known composers, and for Kenyon to be really just starting out in the business. But this is a good piece. We really enjoy doing this. It's 3 short movements. Kenyon will join us Saturday up at Carnegie. He's going to fly up from Waco, Texas to come up to Carnegie to conduct his piece at Carnegie Hall. And so we're pleased to present this for you this evening. This is the Tuba Quartet by Kenyon Wilson. 3 short movements. A real treat to look around the room and see so many familiar faces and some really dear friends and former students and former people who attended the University of Tennessee Tech. It's really great to see you. Maybe we'll have a chance to visit a little bit more afterwards. Speaking of Tennessee Tech University, we have a new chairman of the department. His name is Greg Hammond. And this is his first year as chairman of our department of music. He's quite a well-known composer and a good horn player also. And when we decided we were going to do this tour back in the fall, I approached him and I said, well, you're a composer, we're tuba players, we're desperate for music. And we sure would like to have a new piece of music to premiere on our tour. And here's where I made my mistake. You can't write it too difficult. I want something, the most difficult thing you can write. I want something to really challenge these people. Just never say that to a composer, okay? You learn the hard way, man, because they come up with crazy things to do. At any rate, we're premiering this piece called Beast. There's one exclamation point behind it. I'll tell you what, we'll even let you say it so she get in the mood for it. I'll say it first. And most of us in the South, that would be like 3 syllables. Beast. Well, you gotta make this one sentence. Beast. Okay, ready? Beast. You probably won't get a chance to do that unless you know exactly where we're going to do this, okay? But at any rate, it's a fun piece. Hang in there. It's not for the faint of heart. Don't know is we just got that music 4 weeks ago. Ink is still wet, as they say. First 2 weeks of rehearsal, I wasn't even in this country, right, Marty? So I really only had 2 weeks to put this together. It's a really interesting piece. We're going to record an album in early May, our 7th album, by the way. And guess what the title of the album will be? Peace! You didn't say it with it. Peace! There you go. So much for the beast. We had a guy that graduated from Tech about 20 years ago. He's down at Langley. He's the staff arranger composer for the Langley Band. His name is Aldo Raphael Porter. And Aldo's a real character. Excellent composer. He was stationed in Germany for quite a while with the Air Force Band over there, and became quite well known as a composer over there, composing, being commissioned, major commissions for the radio orchestras and some of the big orchestras, not just the military groups. I mean, that's fine enough, but some of the other groups over there, he's come quite well known. And he's still stationed down at Langley. Matter of fact, he's flying up Saturday to hear this piece performed. I commissioned him a couple years ago to do a piece called Tuba's Latinas. Well, Aldo is from Cuba, born and raised in Cuba, and in 1962, when he was still a relatively young man, his family immigrated to the United States. You might remember that 1962 was a real good time to immigrate from Cuba to the United States. So they settled in Huntsville, Alabama. It's his father, the scientist down there at the Space Center. And Aldo, of course, like children of all scientists, became a musician, trombone player, composer. This is a really delightful piece, we think. It really exploits the Cuban heritage that Aldo has and the Latin rhythms and the Latin style. It's just laid back, it's just fun stuff. We hope you enjoy it. Tuba's Latinas. Everything's been done to this tune, all kinds of different arrangements, vocal and instrumental and otherwise. This is the march arrangement that is quite well known. Call out to bring your euphonium with you. Carl Weber's principal euphonium player of the U.S. Army Field Band, he can tell you that the euphonium obligato part towards the end of this thing is pretty difficult. And, so we're going to feature the three of the top euphonium players up here on that, and see if they can make that sound pretty good. Okay, it's a tough lick, and it's just a fun piece we're going to do, and I'm going to take my time. Was that doing beats or what? I don't know yet. They'll creep up on you when you're not looking, you know. And I turn back around, I'll look real good, okay? Ed, you're the one that helped with this. What happened?
That's what's scary.
Yeah, I had two tuba players, three tuba players putting on one bow tie and it fell off. I don't know what you're going to do. That's tough, isn't it? It's really awkward stuff. Especially when you're playing the lead voice all the way through. In the band, we used to get clarinets and flutes to play all the melodies, and you're going to come in at the end, fresh shot. These guys about half dead by the time they get there. But it's a fun piece to do. This is arranged by David Butler, who's also a former member of the ensemble. We're going to kick into a different style here, completely all together. We've done beats, we've done marches, we've done Latin rhythms, we've done Bach. Show you a little bit of the versatility of this kind of ensemble, the versatility of the euphonium and the tuba. These instruments can play any kind of music. And it's amazing as I travel around the country with different kinds of groups that you encounter people that still don't realize that the tubas can play melodies. I mean, they still think they can play a tonic and a dominant. That's all they play. And it's just amazing that people still have that idea. Well, we know, and most of you know, I'm sure, that the tuba and the euphonium are capable of playing any style of music if it's arranged properly and you're working on it hard enough. At least we feel that's the case. And one of the major things that we like to do, we spend about half our time in the area of jazz. We enjoy playing it a lot, and if we don't play it in this ensemble, where do these guys get to play jazz? They don't, because there's not that much tuba and euphonium opportunities for jazz. So we have to create our own opportunities. And we're determined that these people are going to learn different jazz styles. So we're going to do a couple of jazz tunes for you here, demonstrating everything from some big band, basic kind of stuff, to some Miles Davis bebop kind of stuff, to fusion and a little funky stuff, all kinds of crazy things we're going to do here. We had three extremely important people for our ensemble. Difficult to play jazz without the rhythm section. Randy Goose teaches guitar at Tennessee Tech, and he's played with this ensemble for quite a few years now. And I don't know what we do without him, because he's our main man when it comes to the tuba guitar. Randy Goose. Randy. Josh Wright joins us on the bass. Thank you, Josh. My main man, two-do drummer, Dobie Miller, right there. There you go. Jason Burns, who's our principal tuba player, and the ensemble is a senior this year. Real proud of Jason, just won our concerto competition at the university, competed against all the students in the university to perform with a professional orchestra in our community during the Ralph Vaughan Williams tuba concerto in April. And Jason is a senior this year and will continue pursuing his tuba performance in graduate school next year. So start out with Jason, and we followed up with Lloyd Irving Bone Jr., the 29th. Raise your hand there, Lloyd. Sound, Lloyd. Lloyd's our principal euphonium player. He's a But anyway, Lloyd has aspirations of going up to England and studying with the great euphonium virtuoso Stephen Mead over in England. He's been in touch with Stephen, and Stephen basically accepted him as a student. So he'll be over there, if not next year, the year after that, continuing his study. Scott Ignore from Charleston, West Virginia. Scott is the principal tuba player in the second section here, and he's going to do a great solo for us at letter G, followed by Josh White on bass, followed by Randy Hughes, the great Miles Davis chart from 1958-59, the classic Miles Davis Kind of Blue album, a tune called So What. Marty's son has a performance for 45 minutes. Great to see you, Marty.
Lovely to join you.
Yeah, see you in Arizona in about 3 weeks, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
See you there.
great. We're going to go to Fusion. Bob James, piece called Courtship. No solos in this, just sort of an interesting kind of piece, change of pace from the other kind of jazz stuff. I think this was written for the Olympic basketball games. I think this is the theme song for that. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's called Courtship by Bob James. Denmark, and has been in the year with us studying tuba in the ensemble. We've been delighted to have him around this year. He's going to get up on his little B-flat Yamaha, and a great solo there. Followed by Mr. Kelly Thomas. Kelly's from Flagstaff, Arizona, sophomore euphonium major, who is learning the hard way that euphonium players should not play basketball. Learned the hard way, broke every bone in his foot. Trying to be good, trying to be good. Johnny Stockton. Gonna do a real funky tune for you now. Herbie Hancock, he's called Chameleon. And I don't know, you got the pictures out there, what you gonna do, front row, wicked mouthpieces and stuff like that. Real funky tune. This is by Richard Perry, arranged by Richard Perry, who was, once again, a tuba student in the ensemble, finishing up his doctorate in Tuba at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We're real pleased about him. He's done some of our better. Matter of fact, he did the Shiny Stockings also. We're real pleased with his. We got a number of his arrangements. He does great jazz arrangements for the ensemble. Probably some of the best he's ever had. He's going to feature Randy Nugent on guitars, Herbie Hancock's Chameleon. We see a lot of real good friends and colleagues and former students, and we won't even start recognizing anyone that will be here half the night. But it's a real pleasure to see all of you. You know who you are. We're just delighted to see you. And we certainly want to thank the folks here, School of Music, Towson State, and especially the Cuban instructor here, a very dear friend of ours, Ed Golson. Ed, thanks so much for hosting us. Person that helped Ed maintain his sanity throughout the day, as every time he turned around, something new was coming up. And anyway, she probably bails him out of a lot of trouble that he doesn't even know about. Lisa Schultz. Lisa, thank you. Terrific audience. We really enjoyed playing for you. Hope that you've enjoyed what we have to offer here in terms of Cuban euphonium, different styles of music that we're playing. We're going to close with a Chick Corea piece called La Fiesta, real Spanish style thing. Jason Burns is going to do a little doodling around up front. We're going to continue with John Oliver. I don't think you've met this evening. It's John. He's going to do a really nice euphonium solo for us. Another bass solo, Mr. Josh White back in the back. And let's see, Randy's going to do one more close with Mr. Sean Nave. Thank you, Sean. Wave. John's a Burke, Virginia dude, so I think there's a couple of maybe of his colleagues floating around out here somewhere. Okay. And anyway, we're delighted to have all of you here this evening. Hope you enjoy La Fiesta by Chick Corea. Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Thank you for coming. For those of you who can stay, the airmen of note, the